So hello, hi, how's it hanging? My name is Caleb and today we're gonna be doing my October wrap-up. It's actually October 31st and you know what that means. James and Lily were murdered 35 years ago. Also, that means it is Halloween. Wanna see what my costume is? I'll be right back. I'll go put it on. Here it is. Do you like it? This year I'm going as Distressed Writer. So if you're not aware what I'm talking about or why I seem like I am freaking out, I am freaking out. NaNoWriMo is next month. I just said next month. It's actually tomorrow. I've been trying to get my thoughts in order and I've been trying to make sense of it, but I can't because NaNoWriMo is tomorrow and I am dying. So I'm just gonna say this right now. If November comes around and I don't post a wrap up and you're like, where's this wrap up? Just assume I did not read anything. In the month of October, I only read 2 books, but I think I can say technically I read 5. You'll find out why in a second. So the first book that I read in October was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I reread this book this month in preparation for Crooked Kingdoms because I had forgotten so much stuff. I finished this book and I was like, time to start Crooked Kingdom. Can't read it. I think I'm gonna have to wait till December-ish. I know I will not be able to read it in November because I've heard there's feelings. I know it's gonna be super epic and I'm not writing anything close to epic for NaNoWriMo. I mean, maybe epic, but not in the same way. Obviously, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars again. I love them so much. I love all the humans so much and I love everything. And if you haven't read Six of Crows yet, what are you doing? I highly, highly recommend all of Leigh Bardugo's books. If you have not heard what Six of Crows is about by some odd chance, 6 outcasts in this epic magical world and they're trying to pull off this epic heist and it's amazing and that's all I want to tell you. And if you're like, I don't know if I should start with the Grisha trilogy or read the Six of Crows before, I recommend reading the Grisha trilogy first, but if you're like, I'm not feeling it, then read this one. You do you. But read them. I just want you to read them. Just read them. Okay, moving on. The next book that I read in October was a book that I did not expect to read, but it came in the mail, and I was like, I guess I'll read it. More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I don't think a lot of people have read it, but it's known. This book was so different than I thought it would be in a good way and kind of a bad way. I had just assumed that this book would be a contemporary, good feeling book, but it was so sad, and it was really depressing, and it had a sci-fi twist, which I was confused about. I don't think I want to spoil you for the twist because I went into it assuming it was a normal contemporary, and then I opened the first page and I was like, what are you talking about? And then I noticed something that was not normal and it was kind of weird and it was kind of cool and I really liked it. I'm not gonna tell you a lot about this book just because I want to save the twist for when you read it. It follows a kid named Aaron. He's living his life. He loves his life. It's great. And then starts to suck. I'll just tell you, the main character has a really sad backstory. It was really, really enjoyable. I loved a lot of the characters and I loved the story. I did have a few issues though. I didn't feel super attached to a lot of the characters. I mean, I liked the main character, but a lot of the side characters and the friends, I was like, eh. I know who you are, but who are you? I didn't know people. I would get people confused with other people. There's a lot of different friends that I was just like, who is this? I ended up giving this a 4 stars for that reason. It wasn't huge in my opinion. It was okay. I still highly recommend. I'm super excited to read Adam Silvera's next book, History Is All You Left Me. I hope I like it more than this book, but I still really enjoyed this book and I do recommend. So earlier in this video, I said that I technically read 5 books this month and I just did the 2 that I actually read. The other 3, you might be wondering, what's the other 3 books? Actually, it's 1 book that I read 3 times, and that is my own book that I wrote for NaNoWriMo 2015. Yeah, I read it 3 times. A few months ago, I was editing my story from last year's NaNoWriMo, and I was just going through it, and I was having this horrible experience. I was like, I hate everything. I'm the worst writer ever. I'm burning this story to the ground. Oh boy. And this month, I just went into the document. I was like, I'm just gonna reread some parts, just see what's happening with this story, and then fell in love with this story. And I was having difficulty, and then I just reread it as if I was just a reader and not an editor. When I was editing it, I was like, this makes no sense. This is the worst. This character sucks. This sucks. sucks, makes no sense. And then I just was like, how about I read it the way I wanted it to be read, if that makes any sense. So I just opened up the file and read it without trying to edit it at all. And so I was just reading through, and I'm not joking, I read the entire draft in a sitting. Oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next. And then I was like, oh, I know what happens next because I did this. And then I just like loved it so much, and then I reread it. I found myself like crying at certain parts, and I was like, why is this happening? And my brain would be like, you did this to them. And then I'd be like, oh crap, I did this to them. And I re-fell in love with the story. And when NaNoWriMo 2016 is done and I've somewhat edited that, I'm gonna go back to this story and I'm gonna edit it, and then I'm gonna plot the second book, and then I'm gonna write it. I ended up rating that book 5 out of 5 stars because obviously it's so good. That sounded really condescending. Let's move on. The TBR for November, which is a very, very loose TBR if you're new here. I'm probably not gonna read a lot of these books. The first thing that you need to know about me when I write things, I like to read things that are in my genre, or like a feeling I would like to get. Like the feeling of my novel I'm writing is happy, fun times in the summer. The first thing I think of when I think of that is Morgan Matson. I read Since You've Been Gone earlier this summer, and it gave me the best vibes ever. So this month I plan on maybe picking up The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson. Look at the dogs. Oh my goodness, look at the dogs. I'm gonna rate the pug 10 out of 10 because, boy, I don't know anything about this book other than there's dogs on the cover and it's Morgan Matson and she gives me great feelings. I don't know what this is about or anything, so yeah, moving on. A book that I would like to maybe pick up but probably won't, knowing me, Isla and the Isla, Happy Ever After. As you can see, I have a bookmark in this book because I read the first like 3 or 4 chapters and I was like, this is like really I loved the first 2 books. I mean, I liked the first book the most and the second book was like okay, and this one I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I was not a big fan of those chapters, so I think here's what I want to do. I want to read this book and hate it, and then when I'm writing my own book be like, oh my gosh, like this is so bad. Look at the awesome book I'm writing. Just want to feel good about myself in November because my biggest enemy is feeling like garbage during November. Like I'd rather feel like garbage in the editing than when I'm trying to, you know, write it. Another book that I'd like to perhaps pick up in November is Something in Between by Melissa de la Cruz. I haven't been a fan of Melissa de la Cruz's other books that I've read, but this one intrigues me so much because it's about a girl and she gets a scholarship to like get a full ride and get to meet the president and all this awesome stuff. And then she tells her parents and they're just dead silent, and she finds out that they're illegal immigrants. Like their visa, their green cards expired like years ago and they're in the country illegally. I'm currently reading this, hence my little clippy clip. So these are the books that I read in October and that I would like to read in November. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye!